entertainment, 100% electricity, 100%
Pipebomb Radio with your host, Felix Olmedo.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man.
And Austin James.
That's the bottom line. From stone to stone.
Welcome, everybody, to a Wednesday edition of Pipebomb Radio this evening as we continue on with our Father's Day edition, or Father's Day week, so to speak. We continue on with another wrestling icon's son who will be joining us here shortly. It looks like communication has been able to be established, thank God. For that, I welcome you, and of course, joined as always is with Austin here. I believe you've been staying in contact with Yuji today, so
yes.
Give us a little bit of information about Jumbo Tsuruta before we bring on his son.
That's one. Well, Jumbo Tsuruta is one of the most legendary figures, one of the most legendary wrestlers to ever come out of Japan. I mean, he's done so much in his career. And Yuji is Jumbo's son, and I cannot wait to talk to him. So is you. It's going to be great because I think he's actually the first guest we've ever had directly from Japan. Like, we've never done an interview from Japan.
And hopefully all goes well. Without any further ado, folks, Mr. Yuji Tsuruta. Good evening,
Hello.
or I guess I should say good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you. How about you?
I'm well. Thank you for asking. Austin, I know that you've been working on this. I'm going to let you fire away with the questions. So
absolutely,
let's hit it.
And I'm so excited that this actually worked. We got the connection finally. It's perfect. But
last minute. Yeah.
I know, last minute. Actually, the last minute. But so your father is, like I was saying, one of the most legendary wrestlers in the history of Japan. I mean, he's known. I was reading this too. He's actually known as the strongest wrestler in Japan, like to ever come out of Japan. So that's a really big honor to know that your father's done so much. How does it feel to be the son of Jumbo Tsuruta?
Great. I'm really honored. I mean, I love it. Yeah. Yeah.
And at this point, I mean, he actually had the opportunity to compete in the Olympics as well. I believe, is that right? I mean, I've heard something where he actually is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. He went to Munich Olympic.
I wanted to verify that fact because I believe I've heard a few others that have gone there too. But I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off there. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's one after Tokyo Olympic. He was inspired to go to Olympic after watching the Tokyo Olympic. And he was a basketball player, but he decided that maybe team sports isn't going to get him to where he wants to be, which was the Olympic. So he switched to wrestling. And when he was in college, I think, university, and but they didn't admit him to switch his sport. So he went to the Japanese Defense Force group to wrestle there. And he won the championship in Japan, so he decided to come back to the university. They didn't let him back in, so he started wrestling there too, and then he went to the Olympic. Yeah.
So when you were little, were you enjoying wrestling then? Like, did your father did he basically say, well, when you're older, we want you to become a wrestler too? Like, did you have a choice, or what was it?
Well, I remember watching it since I was a baby, and I remember watching 88 Brazil Brody match, so that's when I was 2. So I've been watching him ever since I was little. Maybe I was a baby, So yeah, I've been a big fan of pro wrestling for a long time until he got sick. Then I stopped watching it for a while. Yeah. But then Akiyama came back, and Sulama is doing well, so I watched Noah stuff too, but I try to stick with all Japan Pro Wrestling.
I wanted to ask though. I read there that he had been trained by Giant Baba. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I might have said it wrong, or maybe it was not the right person.
He was trained by Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk.
Okay, that for some reason I read wrong, and I apologize for that. How did he get in contact with Dory? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Through Giant Baba. He was being trained by Giant Baba, and then he was sent to Texas Amarillo and trained with Stan Hansen. Nice. Stan Hansen was in the same year with him.
Oh, he definitely had a little hand in training. You know, being trained by a guy like Dory Funk and Stan Hansen, that's a pretty big deal.
That is a big deal, yeah.
Now,
You're so quiet, Austin. I know you got more questions. I know you've been waiting all week
for
to get a chance to talk to you.
Calm down.
I'm waiting, man. Shoot it out. Shoot it away.
Oh, no, cool. It's cool. Your father is known as the first ever in my what I've read, Triple Crown champion. I mean,
right?
Like, yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that's the first ever Triple Crown champion from Japan. That's an honor, and that's what he's really known for, being that, you know, having those 3 championships and unifying them. And I can't remember exactly what championships they were. I think it was the NWA. You have to educate me.
I'm sure Yuji might know.
Yeah, the first title he had was an NWA tag title with Giant Baba and Jumbo Tsuruta. I think he was 24 or 25. I'm not sure how old he was, but that was his first belt. But he did challenge for NWA when he made a TV debut in Japan, going against the Funks, I think.
2 tough guys too.
Yeah. He won against Terry Funk.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. His first match was against Terry Funk, and he won against him. It was you have to win 3 times, you know. And the first match he won against, but the match was draw. The NBA.
Have you actually ever had the chance to watch some of the matches out here in the United States? There's a question I'm leading into.
You mean the AWA, when he won the AWA?
You could say during that time or any time in between where if he was traveling to NWA. Did you ever really get to be in the crowd or be there to see him compete?
Not in the U.S. because I went to the States when I was 14, and he was already retired he was retired by then. So, and I didn't have cable.
So the reason I asked is I wanted to ask you as far as the difference in the crowds for Japan and for the United States. I know Austin studies Japanese wrestling like there's no tomorrow, but I've always been intrigued by the crowds in Japan, because I've seen some of the matches, and even it's almost like a spectator. They're just observing it, and they're just so quiet. You can hear a pin drop, you know. And whereas opposed to here, it's so loud, it's crazy. And I wanted to get your opinion on that. I mean, you've obviously stuck with the New Japan. What are your thoughts about that? I'm pretty sure you know. Obviously, us U.S. fans are kind of nutty, whereas you guys really observe it and almost like you're taking notes. Not to sound sarcastic, but you know what I mean.
Well, I don't know about New Japan's crowd, but All Japan's crowds are very.
I'm sorry, All Japan. I apologize.
Yeah. All Japan crowds are really serious about the wrestling thing, and I'm gonna say they're uptight or anything, but there's this manner thing that's going on in Japan. You know what I mean. We're very strict on the manner and how to treat others well and stuff like that. It's a tradition. So when it comes to sports, when everybody's serious and I don't think anybody wants to see anybody hurt. That's the thing. And then they're just quiet to watch the match, and they're just passionate like that. It doesn't mean we're not passionate, you know.
No,
we're passionate in a different kind of way. Yeah.
No, definitely. I respect that, and I have a great respect for that, because sometimes us American fans can be kind of too much. We're a little bit overbearing sometimes as fans, and
right, especially in the 70s and 80s. I think because people were throwing stuff. That's what I heard, and that's why my father didn't want to wrestle there, because the crowds are so wild. And there was the race thing. You know, people weren't used to so much as, you know, especially Japanese people after the war and stuff like that. There's not many figures that try to represent the country so well. So, you know, it was hard, I guess.
What were your thoughts on the match that your dad had? I believe he had a match with Ric Flair.
Right, Ric Flair. Oh.
Woo! You know.
Yeah. I mean, I love his matches against Ric Flair, but he never got the title. You know what I mean? He came so
That's
close
true.
to it, and I love the matches, and I wish he could have. He even said he wanted to have a match with Hulk Hogan in '92.
That would have been
I think
interesting.
'91. Yeah, and that would have happened if he didn't get sick, which sucks.
Understood.
Because everybody would have wanted to see that.
And you know what's cool about, and people think Hulk Hogan just knows about 6 or 7 moves. In WWE, he has a leg drop and clotheslines and stuff, but in New Japan, in Japan when he's wrestling, he's pretty technical. Like he pulls out a lot of different moves from out of nowhere. And I love watching Hulk Hogan's matches from Japan because that's when he really puts his wrestling to the test.
Right. His match against Stan Hansen is classic.
Mm.
I was just going to
Stan to
mention
win.
Stan Hansen too, but I'll get to that in a second. Go ahead. I apologize.
No. I was rooting for Stan Hansen because he's my favorite Gaijin wrestler. So, but that's that.
Well, the question I had as far as Stan Hansen, real quick. I'm sorry, Austin. I know we've had superstars from the Texas area, where Texas is such a really hotbed for wrestling, and Stan Hansen was such, he's a wrestling icon, but I don't think he ever really achieved the success he had until he moved to Japan, where he was practically like, I don't know if I could say a celebrity, but like a
yeah.
Okay, you could say that, but I mean his icon status definitely took a step up a little higher, because he just really was just something really big.
I mean, he invented the lariat, and he broke what's the champion's name, and he broke his neck, right, at in New York. And I heard he got really famous after that, but I don't hear that story from U.S. fans so much. I'm not sure why.
Well, he must have a pretty good clothesline. I wouldn't want to be lariat like Stan Hansen, and to break somebody's neck from a clothesline, that's from a lariat. That's pretty disastrous.
Yeah.
Well, he had a really dangerous one. I mean, obviously people would try to emulate that over the years, but I don't think anybody could ever do it as good as Stan did.
Yeah, they can't finish with that.
No. Nowadays, it's not realistic to them.
No. Yeah, but only Stan can pull it off, I guess. I mean, my father tried, and Tenryu have used it as a finish, but Tenryu sounds. But
you're talking about Ric Flair earlier, and I'm like, well, Ric Flair, he's awesome. But then I was actually watching recently when you recommended your father's matches against Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
Right, Bruiser Brody was considered. Yeah, my father considered him his biggest rival.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Bruiser Brody probably would have been. He would have had more classic matches if he was alive. If he didn't,
Well,
I don't want to say it. Yeah.
No, it's understandable. I wanted to kind of mention, because you talked about the name Tenryu. They refer to his rivalry with Tenryu in the 80s as something as the Japanese equivalent of a Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat type matches. What are your comments about those? Because they had a really heated rivalry. But I mean, what do you think about the comparison? Would you agree?
Yeah, my father considered Tenryu as his biggest Japanese rival. So and he had the size, which was he was like 6'4", 6'5", and when he started using the move Powerbomb, I don't know what you guys call it in America.
It's pretty much called the same thing here.
Powerbomb, yeah. He was really good competition against my father, and I think that rivalry was really put the wrestling on the map for everybody in Japan, because there was no Japanese rivalry before that in Japan. No Japanese were going against each other and it wasn't a big deal for them. The Giant Baba has said that before. So, and if Tenryu stuck with All Japan Pro Wrestling, if he did, I mean, that would have been great if Misawa came out of, his tiger mask and Tenryu was around. But he went on to beat Antonio Inoki, and he did beat Giant Baba before that, so he is Mr. Pro Wrestling right now, and he's number 1, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know,
named everyone.
You can't speak of great feuds without mentioning your father's matches with Mitsuharu Misawa. I mean, those were, and I always, we will talk about your father, they always mention those matches.
I was really mad at him for losing his first match. I got really mad at him, and I dropped a big toy on his head when he was going down the stairs. So and it hit him. I wasn't gonna hit him, but it hit him somehow, and he slapped me pretty hard after that. He got really mad. It's the Japanese way. But and then I talked to him. Then I told him I was really upset with Misawa's, how he lost against Misawa, and he was like, I forgot what he said, but he didn't. He started not to lose so much matches after that. So I think that has something. I hope to think that has something to do with.
Well, that's cool.
His motivation, yeah.
And those are some really good matches too against Misawa. I mean, watching those that's like I said a couple minutes ago, when people talk about your father, like in this generation more than any other. I mean, they always say his matches with Misawa. Like, I know they weren't many matches, only like just 2 that he had, the 191 and then the other one in 1992, I believe. They always talk about those for some reason. That's the first ones to bring up.
Yeah, people know about the first match against Misawa, which Misawa won, but they don't watch the matches after. They don't really because it put Misawa over my father as ace of all Japan, but he never lost after that against Misawa. So like it's debatable, I guess. But the first single match is a must-watch match. It's incredible. It's a classic.
And when I was talking to you, I never got the chance to watch it.
History. Huh? Yeah.
When I was talking, because I always knew there was a first match, but I never knew there was a rematch in 1992.
Yeah, there was. I think they went head-to-head to each other, head-to-head 4 times, I think, something like that.
Wish it was on video. The only 2 on YouTube that I can find, like on the internet, were the.
It's too bad it's not on the WWE Network.
Oh, too bad. Oh, damn.
It is too bad.
But
because they've got like a Netflix of video libraries that is ridiculous, and I'm not sure if your father ever worked for Mr. Inoki's company or not. I could have sworn I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, Austin, that Mr. Inoki's company or library had been sold to WWE, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe. Actually, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Did your father ever work for Mr. Inoki's company?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
He did not. They met each other a few times, but I'm not supposed to comment anything on the Inoki.
Fair enough. We will not push that subject any further.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And, besides that, I wanted to actually get into you training as a wrestler. I was talking to you a couple of days ago, and you said that you actually wrestle yourself. How far in the training have you got, or if you completed it all?
That was in middle school, and I had really bad eyesight ever since I was like 7 or 8. So like I couldn't see anything. So and wearing contact lens couldn't do anything. So I'm only 5'11", and so I don't think I'm legit height for heavyweight. So it never really occurred to me to wrestle. Well, not really. So I always wanted to be a filmmaker. So
that's cool.
Cool. Yeah.
You know what you should consider is a documentary on your father, on your family, and his adventures.
I'm gonna work with the Funks maybe next year or so, because they have a movie company. Yeah, and they tried. Marty Funks, Mrs. Dory Funk Jr. Contacted me, and she invited me to Florida to work with her. So we might do that after I finish my film that I'm working on right now in Kobe, Japan. We might do that. So that's gonna have to do something to do with wrestling, I think.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you're speaking of the training still. I think the training in Japan, more so than any other place on earth, is probably the most toughest. And I know you've probably been around and seen what they go through, when training, especially. And the dojos in Japan. It's not for the weak.
Yeah, I live pretty close to the Yokohama dojo, and my father owned that property for a long time, and we used to go there, and Kobashi and Akiyama were working out, and I was there, just playing around, screwing around, and I was playing Street Fighter, and Kobashi was working out, but Akiyama came out to play with me, and I remember that, and he was really nice from the beginning, and what's going on in all Japan wrestling right now is Akiyama is the head of a lot of things happening in Japan. So from that, I think I can say that I met some people who, it's gonna be powerful like these days, like in today's world, and I'm really glad that dojo was next to my house. I don't know what I was going for there. I got confused. Sorry.
From what you remember, what was your father's relationship with Vern Gagne and the AWA?
Oh, I have no idea about that. I have no idea. I think Baba contacted him mostly. I have no information on that. Sorry. That's
okay. I was just curious. So you mentioned that the AWA earlier, so I was curious as how that relationship did it go okay? Because I know that Mr. Gagne actually always had from what I've read about him, had always spoken very highly of your father, had great respect for who he was and what he did, and always enjoyed working with him. Austin?
Austin? Yeah, please.
Well, yeah, I was going to comment. I was going to say, not many people can actually say that they played Street Fighter with Akiyama. When you said that, I'm like, my God, you're wrestling in one, and you're being where your father was. That's pretty awesome to be playing Street Fighter with Akiyama.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, he remembered it, so that was well.
As far as your family goes now, I mean, what are you guys up to nowadays, if you're okay to talk about that? I mean, you mentioned yourself that you're going to be, everybody kind of doing their own thing, and I mean, you mentioned that you might be traveling to Florida on a project, but does your family still follow wrestling today?
Just me, I think. My mother really never watched wrestling so much. She was a stewardess. She never really associated with the company. But she knew a lot of people,
Did you ever get the chance to meet Sonny Ono?
No, who is that?
He actually had worked with WCW years ago in recruiting some of the Japanese talent to come down to work with them when Ted Turner and Eric Bischoff were still running the company, sort of. He had worked as a partnership with some of the Japanese wrestlers that came down. I wasn't sure if you had ever heard of him or maybe even got to meet him on one of his ventures down to Japan.
No, he sounds familiar, but I've never met him, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Going back to your father, and I think it was in I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, the Shao University, and he actually was participating in Greco-Roman, wrestling. Did he? I don't know if you were. I'm not sure how old you were, or if you were born at the time. But if you would kind of elaborate on what exactly did he do there, besides wrestle, of course. I mean, was he successful?
I know he was taken by his uncle to Tokyo when he was born in Yamanashi, which is where Mount Fuji is, and he traveled with his uncle to Tokyo, and he competed. He was made to compete in sumo wrestling championship, and he won, I guess, the championship. And he was 15, and he had no back skill, and I think he had black belt in judo.
Wow.
That's before he went to college. Yeah, and he only trained for 2 years. Wrestling. He only trained 2 years in wrestling, and then he went to the Olympics. So he's just a really good athlete, I guess. He was.
Yeah, amazing athlete, because, I mean, this listening to what you're saying, being a black belt in judo, I mean, there's so many, he's done so many great things. I mean, just just listening to him and seeing all his credentials and everything, the athlete that he was, and still watching his matches today, it amazes me because he's one of the biggest, the heavyweights, and usually not many people can his size move around like he did, and he was just so awesome to watch.
Right. You can compare him to Taue, which they're about the same height, but if you watch the matches closely, you can tell the difference of athleticism, of both of them, the difference, So, yeah, yes, he was made. I mean, you see him drop kick Giant Baba, and you see him how high he could jump. And yeah, I mean, it's amazing watching him wrestle.
So do you have any aspirations?
So my question to you, Austin, is when are you going to fly down to Japan and go hang out with Yuji?
One of these days, and probably
you're welcome anytime, man.
Amen. Yeah, I will. I'm definitely going to do that once I do. I plan on going to Canada and to train with Lance Storm, who is one of the most well-known wrestlers, to train with, because he's taken the book of the Stu Hart's wrestling, the dungeon, and he's taken the learnings of there and applying it to his academy, which is, I think, really awesome. If you know anything about the Harts, the dungeon is always the place to be if you want to be successful in the world of wrestling.
Right.
Did your father ever get the chance to work with the Harts?
The Harts? I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. Yeah.
But yeah, Japan, I'm definitely going to be there one day. Without a doubt. That's the place I have to go, because what I'm saying, before going to my ultimate goal is to hopefully get to be in WWE. But beforehand, being in places like AJPW would be amazing, because that's always been my dream to go to different places and wrestle. Right.
If I'm not mistaken, the Von Erichs were actually out there in Japan just recently too. They came back already, but the Von Erich, the sons of Kevin Von Erich were actually out there wrestling for a little while.
Right. Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Von Erich family?
Yeah, I've seen their matches, but I've never met them before. And
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know they're making.
We need to get you to come out here to the States, Yuji.
Yeah, I want to go. I have my 10-year reunion coming up of high school, but I don't know if I can make it. Yeah.
I hope you are able to make it at least for that project in Florida that may or may not. I hope it works out for you to do that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. I really wish I can cast Terry Funk and Dory, of course. If that happens, man, that's going to be amazing. And we're going to try to make something happen so we can send it to Sundance Film Festival, some great film festival. Yeah, I'm really excited about that.
What is the one you're doing now? What is the film that you're working on right now? What is it about?
It's about schizophrenia and how to deal with it. And it's a love story, so maybe we shouldn't get into it so much. It's not about wrestling at all.
That's totally understandable. I know we actually have a guy that came on here, this was like last year, and his name is Stephen Wong. Like, I know Felix knows him too. He's also a filmmaker from Japan, and he came down here. He's actually has a really awesome gym in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada, called Battleworks Academy, and he's actually making a film on. I can't remember exactly the name for it. It's called I can't remember, but anyway, he's making a film on some type of exercising, whatever. But he's from Japan too, and he's in the film.
Right.
Who knows? They might even meet one day. You never know.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Beyond the Mat?
Yes, I did.
That movie was controversial. I mean, that put
very much so.
Wrestling down. I want to talk about. I think we should talk about the booking difference in Japan and America, because you guys in America, you guys admitted that there is a book, and it's all staged, they say. So
yeah,
that's how they want to portray it. But in Japan, it's denied, like it doesn't exist. So I think there's a big difference there. If people who wants to wrestle seriously, they should come down to Japan, because they're going to be protected in a way that it's going to be not a sport, but it's going to be pro wrestling, like competition, you know. And I think that's there's a lot of appeal to that.
No, it was definitely because being in Japan and the United States, it's totally different, and seeing totally different. And that's why I respect, and I told you this before, but that's why I respect the Japanese wrestlers more so than some of the people here, because that's when you're watching a Japanese wrestling match, it's real, you know. It's hard hitting action, and that's why I like this strong style. And I think it's so interesting to watch and compare kind of between the differences between there, here and there.
Yeah, I mean, Hulk Hogan wrestled for real in New Japan. I mean, and
you
people
definitely pointed that out to me.
I mean, I'm not being sarcastic. I respect him at all.
No.
I don't want to get into any trouble.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not on here.
But you know what I mean. You know what they say. You know.
Yeah, and I was saying Hulk Hogan, that was the biggest thing for me. But when I seen him wrestle in Japan, and this is probably like last year when I just started researching Hulk Hogan in Japan, and seeing how good he is as a wrestler. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad wrestler in the United States, but going to a different place like Japan and wrestling and seeing how different and really awesome to watch him is. I'm trying not to be disrespectful or anything, but I mean, just seeing the differences between being in the U.S. and him wrestling in Japan is so different, and it's really entertaining to watch him more so in Japan than in the United States. To be honest with you, that's my honest opinion.
Yeah, it's different, but yeah, I mean, you don't have to be a heel nowadays to be a Gaijin wrestler. You can be a babyface. Like Joe Doring is in wrestling with All Japan Wrestling right now, and Big Van Vader was a big deal in All Japan.
Absolutely
and Noah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was maybe a babyface. I mean, he was really popular here, and if heavyweights wants to come down and wrestle, I mean, we're All Japan and New Japan or whatever, everybody's going to be welcome to bring in more Gaijin wrestlers. We just can't speak English, so we need more translators who works with the wrestling companies to work deals with them, because I think there's a lot of potential here, but nothing is really happening here. So right now is a moment.
And maybe you can be that person, like if you're ever interested besides doing film, to be that person that's kind of in the middle, like bringing some of the Gaijins into Japan.
Yeah, I talked about that with All Japan people, but they want me to wrestle, or they want me to be a referee. So I don't know if they take me too seriously yet. I don't know. They have doubt about my speaking ability.
Yeah, no, that's
well
perfect,
to me.
because if you have that, yeah, and now you actually do have that really awesome speaking of English like you do. I mean, we really understand you. So I mean, if that would be such a perfect job for you. And even if you were a referee, I think that'd be awesome too, because the Japanese respect referees too.
I think wrestlers should make deals. Like Giant Baba was running the company, so it was easy for him to find somebody and deal with them to come and wrestle. And now that that's why New Japan is being successful, because Inoki is running the company, I think. That's my opinion. And if All Japan becomes something similar to that, if somebody who wrestles like Pucci or Akiyama is going to start running the company, I think there's going to be a lot going to be happening here. But I don't know about WWE talent. But I heard Kenta is going over there in America.
I heard about that too.
Yeah, Kenta's supposed to be here by the end of the summer, and from the Performance Center, which I think is going to be really cool, because you don't really hear about too many Japanese wrestlers in WWE.
Yeah, I hope it works out.
Actually, Yuji, I wanted to get your opinion on one of another big icon that came out of Japan, the Great Muta.
Great Muta, yeah. I've never met him. I never met Muto because he was a New Japan wrestler, and I don't associate with people who. He was. So I try not to talk to people who were not working for All Japan. I mean, he was, but I just didn't think he was a loyalist or whatever. But
Understood.
no offense. Yeah.
No, none taken at all.
Flair mentioned Jumbo and my father and what was it, Tenryu and Great Muta was the three best wrestlers that came from Japan. And I'm honored to hear that from him.
I know.
So,
It's so
yeah,
cool.
he's a big deal.
And it was a big deal for me to actually be able to speak to you because, Jumbo Tsuruta is, I think, one of the best, like Ric Flair said, and he's a testament to saying that, too, about Jumbo Tsuruta being one of the greatest professional wrestlers from Japan.
Definitely the most respected out there, too.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, he was complete ace. That's what they call him. He was doesn't have any faults.
So beforehand, did your father ever, did he ever work with the new generation of wrestlers, like beforehand? Like, was he ever kind of like in contact with training guys?
He trained John Penta. He worked with WWE for a while after he trained Akiyama, Jun Akiyama.
Wow.
He's possibly one of the best wrestlers in Japan right now. He does jumping knee.
Yes.
Which was awesome.
Now,
that is very impressive.
That's wait, nobody's talking right now. Okay, I thought I was talking over somebody. But so
no,
did you actually keep up with? You don't keep up with any WWE wrestling? You just stick to All Japan?
I like The Rock and Brock Lesnar and what's his name? I like them too, and The Rock is working in movie industry too, so I pay attention to his movies. I watch most of his movies, and I wish he could just come down and wrestle in Japan, any of them, because that would make a big deal out of everything. But I just don't. Nobody seems to think that it's gonna happen, which sucks big time. If they can collaborate, companies can collaborate. Yeah.
I hope they do soon because there's so many talented guys that I think New Japan, All Japan could really benefit from. Yeah,
big time.
And
I like
other
Goldberg.
guys, like Chris Jones. Yeah. Chris Jones, our friend, we've had him on the show before, but I'm speaking of him now because I don't know if you've ever seen any of his matches, but he's pretty good as a wrestler. I think he'd do so well in All Japan.
Yeah, I'm telling him if he came down to America, Japan, I would take him to Yokohama Dojo and introduce him to anybody. So, but he's just waiting for. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have money. he's trying to get his visa, I think.
That's it. If he has an opportunity like that, I think, especially having an opportunity to go to Japan, that's one of the opportunities that I would definitely jump on with him. I would be like, yes, I will be there tomorrow.
Yeah, it costs a lot. Yeah,
I know.
To come down here and knock on and train for a little bit, and then go back and get the visa and come back here. That it's hard for independent wrestlers to do that. I didn't mean any offense about that, but
I'm taken.
It's hard being a wrestler these days. Any days. So, yeah.
Speaking of movies, I don't know if you ever. Oh, I'm sorry.
The wrestler of the movie. What are you gonna say about?
Very
talk
good
about
movie.
that? Mickey Rourke movie. Well,
Mickey Rourke.
Was the director? Mickey Rourke. Yeah, that movie is really good. I love that movie. I wish he could have won Academy Award for that because nobody else is gonna be able to do that kind of stuff. And if I were to do a movie on pro wrestling, it's gonna be like Avatar. It's gonna be like a motion censored because nobody's gonna have the size and ability to do the things that professional wrestlers do. And so if I were to do it, it's gonna be like that.
The wrestler was amazing. I probably watched that movie at least. Honestly, I'll probably maybe like 30 times. I can watch that every single day and not ever get bored from watching it. But it really tells an awesome story. And besides that, Mickey Rourke, I believe that was his first movie he did in a while. Like I think he went off on a
he wasn't
he wasn't really doing much in movies, and then the rest was kind of his big comeback.
Yeah, it was a big comeback for him.
And speaking of movies, I don't know if you went back in I think it released 2 weeks ago, Godzilla. The new Godzilla movie came out recently, and I watched it.
It's coming out in July here in Japan. So
you guys didn't get it yet.
Yeah. American trailer is much better than the Japanese trailer. So people are having doubts already because the 1998 Godzilla film was disappointing.
Yes, that was disturbingly bad.
Yeah, but I loved it. Because
no offense.
I'm a big Godzilla fan, but I liked the Independence Day and Roland Emmerich. He does a good job on acting, But this one is going to be really different, and it's going to have a villain monster, right? That's what I heard, and I hope people are going to be more interested in Japanese culture now because of the Godzilla. I don't know. Ken Watanabe is doing a good job.
I've been meaning to watch it myself. I've heard good things about it. A lot of good things, in fact.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a bigger hit.
I definitely expect it to surpass the 1998 one. Nothing against the film personally. I am a fan of Matthew Broderick as an actor.
Yeah.
But I think this one that's coming out now with Bryan Cranston is going to be much, much better.
That's what I'm saying. The reason why I went to that movie, before anything else, when I heard Bryan Cranston was in the movie, I'm like, going to see it. Because Bryan Cranston, in my opinion, is probably one of the best actors in the world.
Well, it's the TV show
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad, amen, yeah. I watched that series and I loved every single second of it.
Yeah, that's a good show, I guess. I've never seen it.
I know, we need to see it.
I heard really good things.
Saying. And when I tell people, I'm like, you never watched Breaking Bad? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, you need to go tonight and watch every single episode of it, because that's how it was with me. When I watched the first episode, it took me a week to watch the entire series, because I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. I've never watched anything better than that, besides the Walking Dead, which is, I don't know if you ever called The Walking Dead before.
I heard it's a zombie movie, right? It's a zombie TV show, right?
It's really good, too.
No. Oh, that one? Oh, I thought you were still talking about Breaking Bad. Didn't hear you switch over to Walking Dead, because that's another one you seem to constantly praise.
And that's something you need to watch too, Felix, yet you don't want to watch. You don't give it a chance.
I don't, because I stopped after the third season because it really kind of bored me to tears, and I moved on to other shows.
Should we talk about wrestling? Shouldn't we?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we're talking about it. We kind of trailed off here, so.
Shouldn't we talk about
yeah, I'm sorry.
wrestling related instead of zombies and monsters?
Yeah, we got their film career. I'm like, I want to be talking about that for a second. But but besides that, your father, Jumbo Tsuruta, being in AJPW, All Japan Pro Wrestling, you were talking about this. I wanted to talk about this a little bit more than what we did. The referees in Japan and the referees here in the U.S., I don't think they get talked about more than what they do in Japan, because the Japanese referees, you hear them talk in the commentary sometimes about them and how there's good referees and there's bad referees, and they always talk about the good ones, like the good referees, because they're most notable in Japan.
Kyohei Wada, Joe Higuchi. Mm-hmm. They're really good, and we used to have a really good TV announcer like Fukuzawa, and he had a lot of good lines. Like there's one famous line that he quoted about my father was, "Is he a demon? Is he a devil? No, he's a monster." No, that's the most famous quote that I'm quoting is, yeah, that pretty much
you're not interested
sums
in being
up
a
how strong he was. Huh?
So you're not interested in being a referee? That's not your interest?
Well, I want to get my career as a filmmaker on the track first. I've been writing this schizophrenia piece for 9 years, and I just finished writing my first draft. And I dropped out of college to write this. So, I'm gonna make this film first, and then see if I can. I worked as a what do you call it? People who build rings. I tried out for that, and that was fun. I almost broke my toe, but
that's not fun.
I might associate with All Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm willing to work with them, of course, if they're willing to work with me. But for right now, I'm gonna focus on my film. Yeah.
I do have a question.
And one day I might do a documentary on my father, while everybody's still alive. People like Dory and Stan Hansen and Harley Race and, all those people. Harley Race is still alive, right?
Yes, he is.
He's still alive.
Yeah, he's alive, okay.
My question to you is, and it doesn't necessarily refer to WWE in general, but if the day happens in the near future, and I don't see why it wouldn't, they have a pro wrestling Hall of Fame out here in the United States. If they were to reach out to you and your family about maybe inducting your father into the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, would you accept?
That would be great. If there was
I really think that'd be much.
Yeah.
You know, that it doesn't have. In most cases, the WWE Hall of Fame gets looked at as a joke, and I'm not trying to insult them because that's not the idea. But most people refer to the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame as more legit, more people that have been put in there that, you know, not so much that they were associated with WWE, but because they were in the wrestling business. And I think that, I mean, I would love to see your father get recognized for his contributions as well.
Yeah, me too.
Austin, did you fall asleep there?
No,
as far as questions go, I'm pretty much
done
on my part, Yuji. I want to thank so much for hanging in there with me tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Austin. I'm sure he's got more questions for you. So.
Oh no, I was gonna thank you so much for actually coming on tonight. Because I mean, I have so much respect for everything that your father has done. I mean, being able to talk to you is really it's awesome because I've watched your father's matches for years now, and just be able to talk to his son. That's great. I was so honored to speak to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I hope to meet you one day. I hope to actually get to go to Japan in eventually in a couple of years. And because I promise you I will when the time comes. I swear I will be there.
Yeah, I'll show you
Before
around.
I let you go, do you have any social media that people can follow you on?
Facebook and Twitter, I'm on with my real name. So if anybody wants to send me a request, I'll usually check the account if it's available or not, and then I usually accept them. So if anybody wants to friend me, I can be a friend. You know, and I post a lot of stuff, so yeah. Anytime. And I have a video channel on Vimeo and YouTube, so if people can follow me on that would be great too.
Well, there you go. On behalf of Austin and myself,
you so much.
Thanks for coming on, and we wish you the very best, man.
Thank you.
Enjoy your day.
You too.
All right, bye-bye. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The son of a wrestling icon, out of Japan and pretty much in the world. I don't think anybody who wouldn't know him, but I mean, I'm not as educated on him as, say, Austin would be, but I have read up on some of the matches, even watched a few, and you know, I was definitely impressed with what I saw. So, I mean, it was definitely a good kid. He got a good head on his shoulders. Definitely good prospects for future projects he can be doing out here in the States. And if he does end up doing the documentary on his father, I would love to hear about it. Would love to even check it out.
Yeah, I'm definitely a prone to watching that because I mean, we've talked to a person, you know, last night, David Finlay, who had a documentary done on his father. I think it was done by BBC, if I'm not mistaken, and it was an excellent documentary. So I'm not sure what Yuji is going to bring to the table in a couple of years when he gets his film degree, which I know he will because he's the type of person that he goes out and does things and gets things done. So I look forward to watching it when it does happen because I know he's going to make it happen if he's being his father. It's going to be his best benefit, you know, to do a documentary on Jumbo Tsuruta because people know who he is and people want to know more about him from the people who knew him best.
Well, I mean, I would love to see if he get the recognition for his father to be into the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I'm pretty sure, I'm not really sure, but if I'm not mistaken, the Japanese wrestling has their own specific Hall of Fame as well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not too sure if they have a specific Hall of Fame. Maybe. I'm not sure though.
Okay. Well,
but,
be that as it may, I mean, for anything, I mean, obviously his contributions should get recognized, and I know you'll stay in contact with Yuji if something like that were to happen. Definitely want to hear about it, as well as, you know, his future projects and you know, what he's got in store. But as far as tonight's show, very enjoyable. Definitely a lot to talk about. See, we kind of started wrestling and kind of trailed off into TV shows, what's better, what's not.
Well, no, I wanted to talk to him because it kind of got into his film because I'm like, well, besides wrestling, let's try to talk about your film, you know, what you're doing in film. So wanted to get my opinions about film and Breaking Bad and Walking Dead being two of the greatest shows to ever be which is the truth. If anybody's ever even checked out either show, you're wasting your time doing any important stuff.
Well,
besides that, we actually talked about something really important. That's the debut of Nacho Mama's radio show this Thursday night at 8 p.m., hosted by former WWE superstar, author of Men on a Mission. I cannot wait for that.
It will be 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time for those here on the West Coast where I'm at. It'll be, I believe, it'll be 7 p.m. Central Time where Austin's at.
It's going to be great
will
because
debut his show, and he's supposed to do some kind of wrestling summit. He's contacted a few podcast hosts to call in and join him and just talk about the state of professional wrestling, and I'm pretty sure Austin will probably call in and stick his 2 cents in there and give his thoughts on it, too.
Well,
and if he doesn't, I'll be damn surprised.
My 2 cents is usually probably most worth of all cents, because, I mean, mine's usually the one that makes the most sense of all 2 cents. You know, and you know that, too.
Okay, well, maybe the other hosts may or may not agree with you. That being said, tomorrow night, Nacho Mama's Radio, presented to you by here on the Pipebomb Radio Network. It's going to be a big-time debut. Definitely, you never know who will end up calling in and surprising us. You don't know. But I would definitely encourage everybody to tune in tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then we go off on to Pro Wrestling Historical Society, Episode 7 this Sunday night. We're not sure what the guys have in store just yet, but stay tuned for that. Any final thoughts, Austin?
Besides that, we actually have a huge guest on next week. We have the great Bill Anderson. Billy Anderson on next week on the show. It's going to be really cool to talk to him, because he's, like I said this a couple weeks ago when we were supposed to have him on, but things happened. He actually made an appearance on the Pro Wrestling Historical Society last week, I believe, or the week before last.
And he was also just recently at the Cauliflower Alley Club too.
Yeah, but I mean, he takes pictures, and like I said, when you go search on Google, you go to Google, you type in Bill Anderson, you're only going to come up with pictures of him standing beside other wrestlers, and he's met a ton of them.
And celebrities.
So it's going to be great. Yeah, it's going to be really great to talk to him.
Definitely, Big Billy Anderson, the trainer of champions, will be joining us next week. Good catch. I almost let that slip my mind, but it's okay because we constantly keep promoting what's coming up anyway. Any final thoughts tonight?
Besides that, I guess I have to definitely put in a word for the great David Fuller, who we actually had on last week, and actually last night also, for their IHWE show this Sunday night, and at 6 p.m., I believe. And if I'm wrong, you can always check IHWEnow.com for all the details. There you go, folks. On behalf of Austin and myself, I want to thank you guys for joining us on this special night for Pipebomb Radio as we interviewed Yuji Tsuruta. On behalf of Austin and myself, this is Felix signing off, saying keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Good night, everybody. Good night, Austin. Amen.